how to catch, fillet and prepare Australian salmon. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. You know how much I love salmon, and salmon seem to love me. I don't know why. I think it's just that there's heaps along the east coast where I live. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to catch them, how to fillet them, and then I'm going to show you how to prepare the fillets and remove the bloodline so that they are absolutely delicious. I know that if you ate salmon that I cooked, you would be coming back for more. Stick around to the end for a free PDF download which will outline some vital keys from today's session. If you're enjoying my videos and they're helping you with your fishing, please let me know in the comments and make sure that you like, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't done it already. I really appreciate it. Let's get started. I quickly grabbed a few worms this afternoon. The baits that I have with me this afternoon are fresh beach worms. I've got some mullet that I caught, which is dead. I'm just going to fillet that up. And I have a handful of pilchards as well. I've just come down to a beach which is really close to where I live because just about every beach down here has salmon on it. And the swell is starting to die down a little bit. It's been up a bit, but still a few waves. And when I just look out in front of me, I can see there's a bit of current going from my left to my right, especially when the bigger waves come in and break. But I expect it'll be all right. I might get washed along a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that I'll catch some salmon and probably some other species as well. So initially, I brought 2 rods with me, and I'm going to start fishing just with my classic 2-hook rig with 2 beach worm baits. Just going to stand here and hold the one rod, just relax. It's a beautiful afternoon, and we'll see how long it takes to catch some salmon. And then we will process those salmon, and I'm going to fillet them and show you exactly what I do every time I catch salmon. We love them. We eat them so many different ways. We fry them, we bake them, we make fish cakes out of them, we make curries, all good. These are just a nice size worm, really a good size bait worm. See this guy, you can see their teeth. I'm going to hold him upside down so you can see his black teeth trying to bite me. They've got these big black fangs. Just going to slide this guy on. Always like to put a nice decent piece of worm on the line. He's just been eating hook, and now I'm going to put some on my other hook as well. That worm is trying to bite me. I don't think one's ever drawn blood, but their fangs try and get you. I could feel him scratching my skin when I was trying to put him on the hook. Well, let's see how long it takes to get a bite with these lovely worm baits. Hopefully my sinker doesn't drift too much. I'm using a star sinker to try and minimise the drift. I can see it's very obvious going from my left to my right when I look out here, but should still be able to catch fish. It's that time of the day where people like to walk their dogs at the moment. There's dogs everywhere. I usually have to hide my bait so that they don't get too excited. It's not too long a cast to get out the back. Woo. But I do want to try and get it out a reasonable distance, out beyond the breaking waves. So I'm just going to lay into it a little bit. Okay, so that landed behind the breaking waves. We'll just see what happens now, how much it drifts. I might have to walk along the beach with it a little bit. It'd be great to get some bites early on, actually. All right, so yeah, I can feel a little bit of drift to the right. It's very easy to see. I can actually see the water moving. It's really obvious. The swell also is coming from the north, so it's heading this way. Yeah, so I think I need to walk with my bait a little bit. It may be that I need to cast out down the beach just a fraction from where I am, but this is kind of like a test cast, this one. My first cast ended up on the beach to my right, so it drifted a fair way. So what I'm doing, my tactic is I'm casting upwind, if you like, or into the current, just to try and keep my bait out in the zone a little bit longer, because I ended up almost parallel to where I'm standing. There's still about 2 hours of tide to come in at this point. High tide tonight's about 6:40 p.m. and it gets fully dark about 6:30. So I'm here for the last couple of hours of the run-in tide, and as the sun is setting. That was really weird. My line drifted a lot then. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Yeah, I think I've got a bite. Have I got a fish? Yeah, I got a fish. Yeah, my line was actually going really slack and coming towards me. So it is actually probably most likely a salmon. And it's my second cast. So that's not too bad. Let's just see if it is a salmon or if it's something else. But I think it's a small salmon. Oh, look at me, I'm wrong, aren't I? It's actually a really nice whiting. Look at that. I'm not complaining about that. What a cracking whiting he is. I knew he wasn't pulling hard like a big salmon, but that's actually quite a good sized whiting. How long would he be? He would be 10, 20, 30. He'd be about 37, I'm guessing. So up towards 40 centimetres, but beautiful fish. Look, he swallowed the worm. Well, I'm targeting salmon, so I'm catching whiting. Oh well, I'm not going to complain about the whiting. If I get a few more, my wife will absolutely love that. She loves whiting. And but I'm sure I'll get some salmon too, so I'm just going to rebait. I think that was a good start. I'm happy with the whiting. We absolutely love whiting. If I get a few more of them and some salmon, that would be epic. Just wander down here, give it a flick. I'm getting out a fair way. So that worked casting upwind then, because my first cast I ended up, as I mentioned, way down the beach. You know, beach worms are such an amazing bait. You catch so many different species of fish, and especially really sought after fish like bream and whiting. And on the north coast, well really not just the north coast, they catch a lot of mulloway on beach worms. If you'd like to learn how to catch them, it's great if you've got someone one-on-one like myself to teach you, but I've created an amazing course that has 19 videos in it that are so detailed, and it's helping heaps of people to be successful with catching beach worms. So just check it out on my website, rogersfishing.com. When the conditions are like this, I like actually casting out in between the sets of waves, because you always get groups of waves, bigger waves, and then you'll have a lull in between the sets. And when you've got a bit of drift like this, the current is always a little bit less in those windows in between the sets of waves. So I love to be able to cast my line right out the back, especially when there's a break in the waves, because you can just hold position a little bit longer. Once you get the bigger waves start coming in, you get all that water pushing and you get a lot more current. So it's a bit of a lull right now. You can see there's not many waves near the shore, but a group of waves will come again soon and just start crashing on the either side of that reef out there and then wash in towards the shore. You sure it was a bite? Yeah, I'm getting a bite. What's going on? Pretty sure I got a bite. I'm going to set the hook, I think. Yeah, that definitely was a bite. This feels a lot bigger than a whiting. I cast out in a slightly different spot there, and this feels much more like a salmon. See if I'm wrong again. Oops. It's going down this way. Got a bit of weight in it. I might even have two. Oh, jumped out of the water. Oh, I'm wondering if I've got, yeah, I've got 2 salmon, that's what it is. A double whammy. I thought I might have had 2. It felt a little bit heavy. It felt a little bit heavy for 1. Oh well, 2's better than 1. Here we go. Oh, you can't have him. You can't have him. You can't have him. Does he like fish? I've achieved my goal fairly early in the piece. I double hook up on salmon, which is perfect because that's the whole purpose, is to catch some salmon and show you how I prepare them, because we do eat a lot. So what I did just then is I'd had 4 or 5 casts straight out in front of my gear. I caught a nice whiting on my second cast. I had maybe 3 or 4 more casts without a bite. And I could see the deeper water was a bit closer to shore, down the beach a bit, so I wandered maybe about 80 metres or 100 metres down the beach and had a cast there. And first cast I got a double hook up on salmon. So I wasn't going to continue just tossing out here not getting any bites. I wanted to prospect and try down there, because I thought, well, maybe there's a school of fish down there, and it proved to be true. So that's just a good lesson. And I know I've mentioned that before. You don't just keep tossing the line out in the same spot if you're getting no action. It's good to move around and test different parts of the beach. So I've got a couple of salmon, and now I'm going to toss my line back out because I wouldn't mind getting a couple more whiting. See if I hook another salmon as well. We'll see what happens. I might walk back down to where I caught those 2 salmon anyway and just see if I replicate that in that particular spot. This is my light beach outfit. The rod is 10 feet long and it's rated 4 to 7 kilos. I love it for fishing for whiting and brim, but as you can see, I actually just landed 2 salmon. The line that I have on this reel is 15-pound line, and on my rig I'm actually using a 14-pound fluorocarbon leader. So it's virtually the same breaking strain as the main line, and I'm using a 2-hook rig. At the top of my rig I have a 3-way swivel, and off that 3-way swivel I've got a long shank hook. You can see I've got a length of line about maybe 40 centimetres. Then from that 3-way swivel going down, it's about 2.5 feet or 3/4 of a metre to where I've got a medium size. It's a size 2 star sinker with a little lumo bead below it to protect the knot on the swivel. Then I just have a normal swivel and a relatively short leader of probably 30 centimetres to another long shank hook and a worm bait. And that's what I just caught those 2 salmon on. And even though this is a light outfit, it certainly handled 2 fish at the same time, and there's a little bit of weight in that. So I'm going to whack it back out again. This little rod's fantastic, so good, so light, easy to handle. You can fish all day and your arms aren't going to get tired. Now I'm going to walk back down to where I caught those 2 salmon and have another go down there. Then I might come back up here where I've got my gear, because the tide's coming in all the time. Water's, you know, the water's filling up, getting deeper, closer to shore, so we'll see what happens as the tide comes in. All right, back out to the salmon fields. Got a little bit of a break in the waves here, so I'm going to wander down as far as I can. Don't really want to get wet, but I just want to pinch a few extra metres to make sure that I'm out, well out beyond the breaking waves. Okay, here we go. When it comes to catching Australian salmon, they absolutely love beach worms, but they really love pilchards as well. Sometimes you'll catch more on pilchards than worms, other times more on worms than pilchards. But I've found that they pretty much take almost anything. I've caught salmon on salmon, where I catch a salmon, I fillet the salmon, use a strip of salmon and toss that out, and then catch more salmon. They also really love squid as well. Squid's an epic bait. Yep, I just felt a bite then. What's going on with it? I'm just waiting. Yep, there's a bite. Is that a salmon bite? What is it? I definitely had a bite. Yep. So, am I on or what? I don't think I've got a fish, I'm not sure. That was interesting, I don't have anything. Had a couple of solid bites, but didn't hook up. Beautiful. I had a couple of good bites on that last cast, but I didn't connect. So I don't think it was a salmon. I think it was probably a brim or maybe whiting, but it felt pretty solid. But for whatever reason, I didn't hook up. Hang on, I think I'm getting a bite. My line's actually, what's going on here? My line's, I'm just walking back because my line went really slack. I don't know whether that was a fish or a wave dragging my line in. I'm just going to wait. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. Got to keep your line in the water. You're not going to catch fish unless you've got a bait out there. Here comes a big set. Look at this, heaps of waves coming in. It might end up washing my line to the middle of nowhere, but often the big waves like that can wash your line out of the deep water and back into the shore. Today I'm just trying to get beyond the breaking waves, just into that corridor of deep water that is just behind the breaking waves. Oh, I don't have anything. That was weird. I've had a few bites the last couple of casts, but I haven't hooked the fish. It's interesting, I'm not sure what they are. They might be dart. Dart are quite picky little fish. Could be whiting, but I guess we'll just see if I can catch whatever they are. Quite a few big waves coming in at the moment, and it's another big set out the back. I think I might wait. I don't want to chuck my line out when there's all those big waves breaking. It's just going to wash it around. I think I prefer to wait for things to calm down a little bit. What have I got? I didn't even know I had a fish. Mr. Brimbo. Okay. There you go. I didn't even feel him bite. He's not a huge fish, but he's certainly legal size. He swallowed the hook, so I'm going to eat him. I was winding my line in. I actually didn't even really feel that bite. And then I realised as I got closer to shore that I had a fish on. There's a little trough right on the edge here. I've just been watching it fill up as the tide's coming in. And I thought I want to have a cast over there because it's the sort of spot that you get brim and whiting. And anyway, I've got a brim. So I'm going to have another cast over in that little trough. Now I'm going to mix it up and cast in a couple of different spots. So far in this session I've got a nice whiting, 2 salmon and a brim. So I've got my salmon so that I can show you, I really want to show you how to remove the bloodline from the salmon and how I prepare the fillets for all of my salmon cooking. Because we do eat them just done in either a beer batter or panko crumbs with a bit of aioli. So that's pretty plain, but absolutely delicious when you remove the bloodline and you've just got the lovely flesh. So many different ways that you can eat them, but they're awesome. There's a little bit more water movement on the edge just now. The tide's come in a bit. I've noticed a little trough filling up just down the beach, right near the edge. And I think with the tide filling in now, there's going to be some fish in that little trough down there. So I'm going to have one cast here And then I'm going to wander down there and I'll show you what I mean when I get down there. There's a lot of current in this particular part just here. It would be great if you could let me know in the comments if there's any other aspects of beach fishing that you'd like me to teach or cover in some of my beach fishing sessions. If you could let me know in the comments, that would be great. Okay, so I'm going to go for a little wander down the beach. My line's still out there, but it's drifted right down the beach where I am. It's probably in all the shallow white mush at the moment. Might still get a bite, but the tide's been coming in since I got down here. I was down here about an hour ago, and there's this little trough right on the edge here. It's not mega deep, it may be only 2 meters deep, but it's the sort of spot on high tide that the bream and whiting come into these areas right near the shore, so I don't have to cast out very far. I'm just going to plop my bait over the edge into this little deep section that's running along right close to the shore. At low tide, this wouldn't even be here, but at the moment, I just might catch something right near the edge. There's a bit of a group of big waves coming at the moment. In between the sets, you'll be able to see it better, but there's a nice little depression just here. So all I'm going to do is just flick it in over the edge in there. I really only cast then about 15 metres. Be interesting to see if I get a bite in there. I think I've got a pretty good chance. You'll be able to see there's a little bit of what I call green water or deeper water just near the shore here. It's the sort of spot you can fish right on high tide because there's enough depth of water in there. And the fish like to come in and sniff around in these areas. I'm in this gutter and I'm getting a bite. Okay, so I've hooked up. So I've just cast into this little trough right near the edge and I've got a fish. I didn't cast out very far at all. I was only able to do that because of the level of the tide right now. What have I got? It's feeling to me like another salmon. So this salmon obviously is very close to shore. I'm going to get him up with this wave. So this, I'll be able to use this salmon in my demonstration, my processing demonstration. But this particular salmon was right near the edge, just in that little trough. You can see he's got that worm bait in his mouth there. Now it's really important at this point, you've just caught the fish, to decide, am I going to use this for bait? If I want to keep this for bait, well then I would not bleed it. You want the blood in the flesh. You know, it's more of an attractor when you're using it for bait. However, if you want to eat it, you need to bleed it straight away so that that heart pumps out all the blood. You don't want it in the flesh that you're eating. And so, yeah, you just need to do that straight away when you catch a fish. So I just plopped it in there before and got a salmon on right near the shore. I was really more expecting to catch a bream or a whiting. So let's see if that happens. One more cast. Actually, I've just caught some lovely fish, which I will look after, but I'm going to go home and cook a T-bone steak. That's what I feel like for dinner tonight. Nice bit of T-bone steak. Yeah. So now we're at the preparation part. We've killed our salmon, we've brain spiked it and broken its neck and bled it. And now we're at the filleting part, and then we're going to remove the bloodline from the flesh. Now, I never scale the fish. I leave the scales on because it's much better for when you're skinning the fish, which is what I do. So I've got a couple of salmon here that we caught. I'm now going to fillet this salmon. So I'm simply going to run it under the scales here, up along the shoulder. You try and cut up as high as you can because you want to minimise, you want to get as much flesh as possible. And then I'm going to cut down at near the tail of the salmon. I'm just going to put a slice in there. Then I'm going to run my knife along the spine, well not the spine, but the top fin of the salmon. I'm just using the tip of the knife Some people have commented in some of my filleting videos that I'm not using a filleting knife, I'm using more like a chef's knife, which is true. It's just what I'm used to. I actually prefer a stiff knife. I don't like those really bendy knives. I prefer a knife that is firm. That's just my preference. Having worked in kitchens for many years, I prefer a chef style knife rather than a filleting knife. So now I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to cut through the central row of bones and just remove this fillet. So you can see there we've got a fillet of salmon. Now I'm going to skin it. I sacrifice a little bit at the end when I skin it, just so I've got something to hold on to. Put my knife like that. You want to have the knife on a slight angle, not flat, about that much. You don't want to be like chopping through it, and you don't want it to be totally flat. Then you grab a hold of the end of the fillet and you seesaw the knife while you're holding pressure down on the angle like that. And then you just work your way along, and you'll find here now, you'll see I've removed the skin and the scales in one go. Okay, now if I turn this fillet of salmon over, you will see there's quite a lot of blood and what they call the bloodline, which is really more down the center of the fillet. What my habit is with a fillet of salmon, normally with a fillet of fish, you need to remove these lateral bones which are existing in this little piece of flesh. But what I do is I cut in here beside here to remove the bones, and then I curl my knife round on a bit of an angle. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go down and then around a little bit like that. I'm actually going to cut the whole fillet in half like that, and then I'm going to reverse it on this side. I'm going to cut the whole center strip out of the fillet like so. I'll just remove that like that. So now essentially I've really cut the fillet in half. I've got these two pieces which would go kind of together, something like that. That's what the fillet looks like without that center bit taken out. Now the next step is, you'll find now on one side of the flesh, this is just pure fish flesh, but if you turn it over you can see the remainder of the bloodline. I'm just going to bring this back in. You can see what I've cut out. I've cut out the main chunky bit of the bloodline, as well as the bones that remain in there. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. Now all I do once I've got to this point is I just stick the point of my knife in underneath this bloody bit, and I just gently remove it. All I do is I just gently remove these little bits of red bloody bits from the salmon. So what you end up with is really the beautiful salmon flesh minus the bits of the bloodline. You don't sacrifice much flesh. It's really worth doing. It's not that fiddly. It doesn't take long. I'm doing it slowly for the purposes of the lesson. I mean, you could leave this bit of blood on there. It really wouldn't matter. It's only a tiny amount. You don't have to be that fussy. But essentially, I'm ending up with a piece of salmon. Look, I've left a couple of tiny little bloody bits on there. If you look at that, you can see that this is a beautiful piece of fish flesh. I've removed all the bloodline from it. Now, if I was to coat that in a bit of flour, egg and breadcrumbs, and fry it up for you with some fresh aioli or tartare sauce, you would absolutely woof that. It's totally delicious, so good. Don't need to add any spices or anything, just cook it with a nice breadcrumb, a little bit of salt and pepper. Fantastic. So I'm going to put that piece down there, and we'll look at the other half of that fillet. So you see, if I turn it over, you can see you've still got this kind of layer of blood, which you're just going to put your knife underneath it and just remove it from the fillet. And you're just going to clean the fillet up a little bit. I'm just going to shave it off. Really, by the time you do this, you end up with a perfect piece of fish flesh that has no blood on it, no bits and pieces, and it's ready to batter or cook in whichever way you want to cook it. And I can assure you it is absolutely delicious. Now I'm not going to bother with those other little pieces, but this is only one side of the salmon. There's 2 fillets, as you know, on each fish. I'm going to put this fish next to it. So this is just one fillet of salmon, but that would be a lovely feed for one person. That'd be an abundance, really. And then all I do is turn the salmon over and repeat the process. If you'd like a free PDF download of some vital keys from today's session, hit the link in the corner or in the description below. There you go. That's what I do every time I catch salmon, and they are amazing. They're absolutely delicious. It's not much work to do that. Super easy. Go and get them.